It is Friday. Hooray, Friday. Oh my gosh, what a week this has been. I was in the worst mood all week, and I woke up today and I'm in such a good mood. I'm in such a good mood. I don't know what it is, but my spirits are lifted. I'm feeling ready to go, which is funny because usually by Friday I'm like zonked out. I'm ready to, call it a day, but not today. I woke up this morning and it's not even a pretty day outside. It is gloomy and gross outside and I don't even care. I have my holiday candles burning and I am just in a really, really good mood. So I'm happy to get to share it with you guys. Hooray! And you guys know what happens when I'm in a good mood. My voice goes about 10 octaves higher than normal and my energy level is just like, so lucky you. Lucky you. All right. Yes, I do have my Pantone color for 2020 on, which if you guys don't know is classic blue. And since you brought it up, let me just say at first I was like, oh, classic blue. I was kind of bummed about it. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought, blue is such a great color. It goes with everything. It's so calming and so peaceful and refreshing. And it symbolizes water, which is cleansing. And so it really kind of does embody the way I feel about the new year coming. This year has been a learning experience. I have learned so much about business. I have learned so much about advertising. I have learned so much creatively. Being with Jesse James Beads, I feel like I have grown in leaps and bounds, and in 2020, I'm ready to take it to the next level. I'm ready to shine. That's the only way that I can I can say it and it even come close to what I actually feel in my heart. So 2020 is going to be a great year. I just know it is. We're going to start off on the right foot. We're going to Tucson at the end of January. Well, it's actually the first week of February. There are things going on in Tucson the first week, or the last week, of January. If you have not got your pliers, I was reading this comment. Hold on. I was reading Emily's comment that says, Sarah, I think you need more pliers. And yeah, so I totally mixed those two together. If you haven't gotten your tickets for Tucson yet and you are wanting to go and come and join me and Sarah James and Meredith Roddy, go over to jessejamesbeads.com and get your tickets for that. Emily, yes, I need, that's so funny. I need more pliers. I have a tool problem. I've tried to tell you guys and you just don't believe me. I have a tool problem. I have to own them all. I need them all. I have to have them in my hands. It's crazy, I know. What's funny is that I have all of these tools and I have like the standard 5 that are my absolute favorites and I never deviate from those. Anyway, what a day. So, more exciting news, okay? So the 12 days of Beadsmas on jessejamesbeads.com starts today. Today is the first day. Do we count 12 to 1 or 1 to 12? I'm not sure, but I know that today is the first day, and that means 30% off of red, white, and green beads. So get over there. Get over there. If you haven't checked out the site, first of all, you can click on the 12 days of Beadsmas and learn how. You have to sign up for the newsletter to get a deal. There's a different deal every day for 12 days. And if you sign up for the newsletter, you won't miss a deal. It'll come straight to your inbox to let you know. But also, I noticed this morning there are 3 new things over on the website. So there is 3 bundles of beads. There is a Beadsmas on the Beach bundle, which has some of those Destination Hawaii strands that are absolutely gorgeous, and they work as Christmas beads as well. There's also a classic Beadsmas bead bundle that is there. They're the ones that are in the pack, and they are in red, white, and green. That's a great bundle to get as well. And then last but not least is the Holiday Lights Beadsmas bead bundle. And the strands in it are pulled from some different collections, and oh man, it's such a good mix. It's such a good mix. Really, really beautiful stuff. So If you have not had a chance to go check out, or you're not subscribed to the newsletter, do that so that you don't miss any of these deals. We're just coming off of Prime Week and right into the 12 days of Beadsmas. That's a mouthful. And I don't want you to miss out on anything, because I know that for the next 12 days, I have the schedule, so I know what it looks like. It looks good, you guys. You don't want to miss any of that. So, on the same holiday level here, whatever. I'm telling you, I'm just in such a good mood. I don't even care if the words are not coming out correctly. So, in the same holiday theme, there we go. We are using, hey, beautiful Meredith. We're using one of the beads from the 'Tis the Season strand. Okay, I used these on Jesse James Beads yesterday, and I used some beads from them as well at the Silver Silk project last night. And this is my favorite bead from the strand. I'll show you the strand. Well, it's missing a couple beads because I had to take this one off. But if you haven't seen it, this is the strand minus a few beads. Okay, it's beautiful, right? All by itself, it is absolutely beautiful. But this pink kind of cranberry, that's the word I'm going for, is cranberry to describe this. It's like a pinky cranberry color. Was my favorite bead off of the entire strand, and so I thought, you know what, I'm going to give this guy some love, and we're going to turn it into a pendant that can not only be worn as a pendant on a necklace, on some chain, on some silver silk, whatever makes you happy, but you can also take this and hang it on your tree, which I think is cool. I love jewelry that you can do two different things with, and this is the right size for that. You don't have to make any adjustments, making it bigger or smaller to do that. It's going to be the perfect size to hang on your tree and still be a showstopper. So really, really cool. I'm excited to show it to you guys. It's not a complicated project, but it does take a little bit of time. So I've broken this down into two parts so you guys don't have to sit here all day and watch me, thread the beads on. So we're going to use this guy, and we're going to use some number 8 seed beads. I've also done this in number 11s. I'll show it to you, but we're not doing it with 11s in the project just because I feel like that's kind of like the next level, right? The smaller the seed beads get, the harder the project is. Even if it's the exact same step, sometimes the smaller seed beads just tend to be a little bit harder to work with. So if you're a beginner, stick with the number 8s. If you are more advanced, particularly with using seed beads, then you may want to go ahead and use the 11s on this, but it kind of changes the look of it too. So it's up to you. All right, just going to check in and see everybody. There's Jane, there's Lynn, and Lena. Lena, do you have tea? And Meredith, my bae, Sharon, and Sarah, my other bae. You guys, I'm in such a good mood. I know, it's weird. It's just weird. I'm just going to go with it. I'm not going to question it. I don't know why I'm in a good mood. I just am. Don't judge me. All right, I just hope that it rubs off on you guys. If somebody is having a bad day today, come on. Let's smile together today, right? Oh man, I can feel the cheese. It's like Cheese Whiz, spreading it on thick. All right, so one last thing before we get to the project today. Please share this video, you guys, to the groups, anywhere that you happen to hang out with other beaders and jewelry makers. Share this for me. I would really, really appreciate it. That's your Christmas gift to me from you, and I love it. All right, let's get started. Who knows where this is going to go, right? It could go right off the rails. We just don't even know. But we're going to laugh and have fun regardless. All right. Okay, so here is the beautiful bead that we are going to use. You're really not going to need a whole lot for this, okay? We're going to use this bead and, like I said, some number 8 seed beads. And these are light cranberry, which just happens to be where I got the cranberry name for this pink bead here. I don't know. Once you add cranberry to it, it just becomes Christmassy. So that's what it's going to be. And we're just going to dump out some of these. I don't have an exact number on these. I probably should, but I don't. So we're just going to go with it. So just a handful of number 8s. And thank you, Jane. I'm glad I got my mojo back too. Jane knows I was in a bad mood earlier this week. I just had the blues. Now I do not. Okay, so this is all you're going to need, plus a tassel. And I picked a tassel from the 'Tis the Season tassel mix that just so happens to match. And I'm using one of the flower tassels because these are my absolute favorite, but there were other tassels in this mix as well. In fact, let me show you the pendant with the number 11s seed beads and a different tassel that I used. So this is the pendant that we're going to make, and we're just going to hang this on a piece of chain because really the most important part of this is the pendant itself. But I wanted to show you, this is with the smaller seed beads, so it gives it a little bit different look. And I used a different tassel that's also from the 'Tis the Season mix. It has some beautiful gold and maroon and green. It's like an evergreen in here. So I thought that that looked really beautiful as well. But for the one we're going to make, we're going to use this. But any of the tassels from the 'Tis the Season are definitely going to go with this pendant. It's really going to dress it up and make it awesome. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to use 2 sizes of wire today. We're going to use a piece of 22 gauge wire. I've got about 30 inches, and you guys know how it is. Eventually I'm going to stop saying it. This is more than you need. You really only need about maybe 24 inches, but I've cut 30 just so that I have some extra because you never know what's going to happen. All right. So, starting with our 22 gauge wire, we are going to wire wrap this bead. We're going to put loops on the top and the bottom, and we're going to start that herringbone wire wrap. Let me show you. Okay, so if you'll notice, I started the herringbone wire wrapping technique, and I did it twice, and then I actually did it a third time with these loops, but the loops are a different step. So let's just start with the herringbone first, and then we will take it to the loops, okay? So I'm going to come in with my chain nose pliers, and I'm going to come down on this wire quite a bit. I'm going to come down, that's about 2 inches, maybe even 3 inches here, okay? And I'm going to bend the wire 90 degrees. I'm coming in with my round nose pliers, and I'm going to go up and over, adjust my grip, come on around, and now I'm going to wire wrap, but instead of the standard 3 that I always do, we're going to do about 11 or 12. That's why we needed some extra wire here. So there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, and we'll just leave it at 11. Okay, 11, 12, 13, that's gonna be enough room. Okay, so that's what we want. We'll go ahead and trim that tail off and get it out of the way. And you can see for once I actually used up every bit of that wire. That was the right amount to come down. Okay, so now I'm going to thread on the bead, and I'm going to bring it down to where those wire wraps are. And now we want to do the same thing on the other side. We've got to leave enough room to get all of those 11 wraps over here. If you feel like you want to be exact with this and you want to measure it out and mark it and then bend with your pliers, you can do that. I'm going to eyeball it just because it saves a little bit of time, and it doesn't matter if it's perfect, okay? So I'm just going to kind of look at it and just kind of guess. If we're off 1 or 2 wraps, that's totally okay. We're going to bend the wire 90 degrees, and you can see how much space I've left myself here so that we've got enough room to get all those wraps in. Okay, coming in with the round nose pliers, up and over, same steps. Get this wire out of my way. It's hard working underneath the iPad with a long piece of wire because it wants to bounce all over the place. All right, so there's the loop. Just going to switch hands here, and we're going to go ahead and do those wraps. And 5, 6, 7, we're going to have a little bit more. 8, 9, 10, 11, there's room for 12. Come on around for 13. That's okay. So it was off a couple, but that's just because I didn't measure. Totally fine. Okay, so Lynn says this technique is a huge challenge for me. It was for me too when I very first learned it.
But once you practice it a few times, you'll get it down. I promise. It seems a lot harder than it actually is. And really, if you measure to do this part, then the rest of it kind of takes care of itself. If you always remember that you want the wire to be going across the top, like in the front, never behind, always in the front. Once you figure that part out, you've pretty much got the rest of it under control. Because a lot of times your natural instinct is to take this to the back, and it just will not work. It will not look right if you take the wire to the back. And it seems counterintuitive because normally we want to follow the path of the wire, right? So this wire is coming across the top of this section. So normally you would want to take it to the back down here, but you don't want to do that. It has to go across the top as well. Okay, so holding onto the wire, and I'm just going to guide it down the side of the bead, right? Okay, and like I said, we want to go across the top. You see that wire down here? That's laying across the top of these wraps. I'm going to wrap to the back, back to the front. Okay, so again, going from the front to up here. Guide that wire with your finger along the side of the bead and making sure that you're not going behind, but you're going in front and over the top of the first wrap so that they're not crowding each other out, okay? So there's one, locked it in. Now we're going to do another one. You can get it, Lynn. I know, I have faith in you. You can get this. I know that you can. I totally have faith in you. All right, so the next time, same thing, but this time we want to lay that wire behind the first one, okay? And you can see my first one wasn't even straight. That's okay. I'm good with it. So it goes behind the first wire. At the top, we're going across the top, over the top, right, of the wrap, the first wrap that we did. So this one's directly next to it, okay? Same thing, going back the other direction with that wire going behind, and then down here to the top, across the front, and back to the front. Okay, so those are the only two that we're going to do, okay? We are going to do this one more time, but we are actually going to create some loops in the wire first before we do it. So I'm just adding another element to this, and please don't be discouraged by this. This doesn't make it any harder. It's the exact same step. The only thing is, instead of using a straight wire to do that herringbone wrap and go down the side, we're going to do some loops. And so to do that, we're going to bring in our small bell making pliers, and we're going to use the larger mandrel on the pliers to create some loops. So what I like to do, I'll get everything else out of my way here so that I've got plenty of room to work with. I like to come to the wire, okay, and hold it as close. Let me see if I can back you up just a tiny, tiny bit. Okay, hopefully you've got a good overhead view here. All right, so I'm holding the wire. You see how it's coming across the top of the wire wraps. It's coming out this direction. I'm grabbing the wire between the barrel of the pliers so that the top barrel is the largest one, okay? All I'm gonna do, without making a huge mess here with the seed beads that I dumped out, is I'm guiding that wire around the top barrel of the pliers, okay? I am gonna have to adjust my grip a little bit so that I can go ahead and complete that loop. Okay, so when I take it off the pliers, this is what we've got. We're just going to continue doing that. We're going to do that 7 times. Okay, so the next loop, you want to place the pliers right next to, just right up against the first loop that you made. Guide the wire around. Okay. Go all the way around. So now when you take it off the pliers, you've got 2 loops, and you can see one of them's a little bit further in front of the other one. And also when you look at it this way, they're going to be separated just a bit. That's okay. We're going to fix all that in just a minute. So you just want to keep on with that pattern. And if it's easier for you to turn the pendant instead of the wire, which is usually the way I do it, that's what I'm going to do. So there's 3. Okay. We're going to do 4 more of these so that we've got 7 loops. Okay. They don't have to be perfect. Totally fine. There's 5. We want 2 more. And don't forget, I'm laying that right up against, you can see the side of the last loop that I made is literally touching the barrel of these bell making pliers, okay? Just so that they're in a nice little row. So there's 6. We want to do 1 more. Okay. So now, this is what you've got. It's not super pretty, and chances are your first loop really isn't a loop either. You may need to reinsert the pliers and fix it just a bit. Okay, that's okay. You can straighten these out with your fingers. Look at it from this direction and you can see the spaces. You see all those spaces that are in there? We don't want that. So with my fingers, I'm just going to squeeze it down. Okay, try to flatten it out as much as I can, but that's still not going to be enough. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring in our block and our nylon hammer, and we are going to work harden these loops. This is going to work harden them. It's also going to help to flatten them out as well, okay? Just be sure your bead is off the side. You probably will not be able to catch that first loop. That's okay. That's all right. So we just work harden that, okay? And now we want to take the wire, our loops, and just like if this was straight wire, we just want to lay it on the side of the bead behind the last wrap that we made, okay? Your tail end of your wire should be right at the wraps coming out of the bottom. So same thing. You just want to take that tail end of the wire and wrap it around down here at the bottom, okay? Go all the way around so that it is coming across the front again, okay? And you can see the placement of the loops. If they don't look right to you, you can squeeze them, kind of give them a little zhuzh and put them exactly where you want them to be. But as far as the circular shape is concerned, once you've work hardened it, they're going to stay in that shape. The only one that is ever going to give you any trouble is the first one, that first loop, because this is the one that is taking all the strain as you are wrapping around. And now it's also getting tugged a bit where you have wire wrapped onto the other wraps down here at the bottom. Since it didn't fit on the block to get work hardened, it's the only one that's going to give you any kind of issue. So if it does, you can always come in and reshape it with your pliers if you need to. And then you can come in with your nylon jaw pliers and kind of mash on it a little bit to harden it up just a titch, okay? Okay, so the same thing, because we need our loops to go back up the other side. So we're just going to take our wire, it's coming out. I'm just going to flip this back around so that we're going in the exact same direction that we were going when we started. Same thing, grabbing with our bell making pliers right up against the wire. Okay, right up against our top loop here. And same thing, the larger barrel of the pliers is on the top. Okay, either turn the pliers or turn the pendant. It's totally up to you. There's our first loop. Okay, so we're just going to continue that pattern until we have 7 loops. And you can, mush them down with your fingers as you go if you want to. Just always making sure that the last loop that you made is laying right up against the surface on the side of this top barrel of the pliers, okay? You don't want any extra spaces in there. If there is extra space in there, it's not going to lay across the bead the way you want it to. So there's 3. Turning it on around for 4. There's 5. Okay. 6. And last but not least is 7. Okay. Now, same thing. Okay, just want to mash it down with your fingers a little bit. Okay. Now we want to put it back on the block with that bead hanging off the edge. Excuse me. And then you just want to work harden your loops. and flatten them down even more. And this one, the first loop will actually lay on the block. It's only that very first loop that we made that ever will give you trouble, like I said. So all right. No, Rachel, this is not beyond your skill level. I promise you. I promise you. Give it a try. Give it a try. You might surprise yourself. I have faith in you. I know you can do this. When you break it down into little bite-sized parts, I promise it's not hard. I promise, 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 promise. You can do this. And you know what? If you need me, you can always reach out and message me, and I'm more than happy to help you. If we need to, if we need to video chat so I can show it to you, or you can show me what you're having problems with, that's cool too. That's cool too. I can always hop back on Facebook Live and we can do it together. All right, so we're down here at the bottom, and we're just gonna wrap around our wraps just to secure this. Now what's gonna happen, see that first loop, how it popped out? That's okay. We can mash it back down with our fingers, put it back where it's supposed to go. You are the boss of the wire, in the great words of Wyatt White. That's what he told me when I was having the same reservations as Rachel is having. I always thought that anything that he could do was above my skill grade, it was above my skill level. And the truth is, it's not, and it's not above yours either. I promise you. You are the boss of the wire, and if it misbehaves, cut it up, start over again. It's just wire, at the end of the day, it's just wire. All right, and it's not like we're using 24 karat gold. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so I wrapped around twice just to secure it. And you can tell I've got that extra wire. I used almost all of this, but I do have a tail. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this off and save this for something else. This is the perfect amount of wire to wire wrap another bead at another time. So I'm going to sit this to the side. You're right, Joan. He is a great teacher. He has been a huge influence on me as a jewelry maker, and so has Meredith. I'm always in awe of both of them. I have learned so much from them. Always learning every day. Excuse me, I have something in my throat, you guys. Okay, so this is what we've got so far, right? This, you could stop here if you wanted to. Excuse me, my goodness. If you wanted to just call it a day, stick a tassel on this, you could, because this is beautiful all by itself. But we're going to go extra. So we are going to add seed beads to this. We're going to create like a picot edge. So for those of you who are seed beaters, you know exactly what I'm talking about. A picot edge normally happens in a group of 3, a group of 5, or a group of 7. 3 is the most popular to get that triangle shape. That's what we're going to do on the outside edge of all of these beads. So let me show you just to remind you. Okay, we're going to use some 24 gauge wire. We're going to attach it to this center portion right here, and then go through the loop twice, add the beads. You can see on this one I used 4 beads because they were so small, but for this one we're only using 3 since they're bigger beads. Okay, and we're going to wire wrap the beads in sections of 3 all the way around till we get to the bottom, wrap around here and come up the top. Now this is time consuming, so I'm only going to do a few of these, and then I have one that is almost finished and we'll pick up with it. Okay, so you don't have to stay here all day. All right, but I am going to show you how to get it started. So I'm using 24 gauge wire. I'm using artistic wire for this, not German style, which is a shock to some of you because I normally use German style wire for everything, but the artistic wire is nice and soft and very, very friendly. So I've got, let's see, about 30 inches of this as well, and that's probably too much, but better safe than sorry. So what I want is I want to attach this wire to this wire wrap section here. It's already got a lot going on. That's okay. That's all right. We're just going to add to it. So I'm just going to lay the wire. Hold on, let me double check the one that I was working on to see which direction my wires were going. Okay, so the wire is coming from the back. All right, so I'm going to lay this to the back of the pendant. Wait, yeah, is that right? It doesn't make any difference. All right, I'm going to give myself, it really doesn't. I'm going to give myself a little bit of a tail here, and I'm going to wire wrap this guy on just once or twice, you know, to get it attached, whatever you're comfortable with. Okay, trim off that tail. And you can tell I didn't do any super tight wraps there. Okay, so now we've got the 24 gauge wire coming off of this center section here. Now, one thing that I will caution is you want to try to keep your wire as straight as possible as you're going. That's going to be really kind of difficult, particularly with your 24 or your 26 gauge wires. They're going to want to try to kink up on you. So just be patient, give yourself grace. It's totally okay, and the wire it's going to want to do its own thing, but you boss it. Boss that wire. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the tail end of this wire, and I'm going to go from the back through this first loop, okay? And then I'm going to get it attached to everything that is in a 2-foot radius. So let me move everything out of the way. All right, so I'm going to bring this up through the front, okay? And this wire, make it do what you want it to do, okay? Don't let it misbehave. You make it straighten itself out. That's why the artistic wire is so good for this, because it's nice and soft. Okay, so now I want to just anchor this wire to this loop. So I'm going to go around it one more time. Okay. So over the wire to the back up through the middle. Okay. Now, this is where it's going to be important to follow the path of the wire. Whereas with the herringbone, you don't follow the path of the wire, right? You go across the top every single time. This, you want to be sure that you are following the path of the wire for this. So now I'm ready to add seed beads. I'm going to add 3. All right. 1, 2, 3. You're just going to use your wire just like you would if it were thread. There are my 3 seed beads, okay? And I'm just going to guide them into that picot shape that I want, right? Where that one in the middle is sticking out nice and far, the other 2, so you want that nice triangle shape. Okay, now the wire was coming, you may have to move your beads to remind yourself, it's going across the top of the wire, right? So now, following the path of the wire, you want to go behind and back up through the middle. That's really the most important part of this whole thing, is on the outside edge, doing that picot, you want to follow the path of the wire. Don't forget which direction you're going, okay? So there's once, okay? Just to lock this in, we're gonna go twice. And I haven't moved from this first loop at all. Whoops, I'm getting attached to my light here though. This long tail of wire, I tell you, it wants to stick to everything. And you can see every time I am shaping this wire out before I pull it up close, because it's going to want to do its own thing, and I don't want it to. I want it to behave. Okay, so there's 2. So now if you can get a good look on that, you can see exactly what I've done, right? 1 wrap anchored, 1 wrap beads, 1 wrap anchor, and now we're coming out and we're ready to move on to the next loop. And my seed beads have a little bit of movement, totally fine. Now we want to go behind the next loop, right? Because we're always coming from the back towards the front. So to attach to the next one, just guide that wire back behind and come up through the center of that loop. And you're just going to follow the same steps, just making sure that the wire behaves itself. Okay, the first wrap is just to lock it in place. Okay, all I've done is just 1 wrap going to the back. So I'm coming from the back up through the center. This is just simple stitching, okay, but with wire. You can do this exact same technique with some wildfire and a needle. The only difference is just the material that you're using. So for those of you who would be more comfortable using wildfire to do this, you can. So just make your base in wire and then tie on your wildfire, and you can just use your wildfire to make that picot edging. All right, so I'm going to do this one more time, and then I'm going to show you the other one that is almost finished so that we can move on. All right, adding 3 seed beads, dropping them down, okay? Create that shape that you want. Just use your fingers, right? Following the path of the wire, so that wire needs to be going to the back so that we can come up through the middle, okay? It won't, if you're careful. Dawn says that all that weaving will work my wire and eventually break the wire. It won't. I'm being careful. You'll notice I'm being as gentle as I can, trying not to get any kinks, and I'm not pulling super duper duper tight. The tighter you pull, the more susceptible this is going to be to breaking. So I'm trying to be gentle. And probably the best tip for that is to make sure that you're not getting any kinks in the wire. So every time that I do a wire wrap, so this is going over the top, we're just going to lock it in with a second time. This is where the problem is going to happen, okay? Because you've got this huge amount of wire. See all this wire? I'm pulling this up from the front. So if I'm not careful and making this wire go ahead and be in the shape that I want it to be before I pull it through, it's going to turn this way. And when it turns this way, it creates these tiny little kinks in the wire. Let me just show you. See that tiny little kink? That will happen. And you're creating a breaking point here. So when you go to pull that out, now this is a weak spot in your wire, right? And so that's where your breaking is going to happen. It's not going to happen from the wire wrapping itself. It's going to happen from not managing the long working end of your wire well as you're going through this, right? So this part's not going to give you any trouble. It's going to be the tail that's going to give you the trouble. So as long as you're just mindful of that, you're good to go, okay? All right, so that's the pattern that you're just going to create going all the way down the side, and then you would wire wrap here, go around twice, and then you're going to work your way up this direction. So to save some time, I have worked on this one, and we'll just pick up with this one. So you can see with this guy, I have gone all the way down this side, adding 3 to the top of every one of the loops. I wrapped around twice here at the bottom, and then I started back up the other direction. So we've got 3 more to go. We can do these together, and then we'll attach our tassel, okay? So the wire where I stopped was on the last wrap of this loop. So now I need to go behind the next loop so that I can come up from the center, coming just straight up from the back, okay? Managing that tail end of your wire, right? So that we don't get any bends or kinks. Okay, attaching that one on. There's once. Same thing, up from the back. Okay, managing that tail. Just want to make it do what I want it to do. It doesn't get to decide. I do. Okay, so now we're going to add 3. Oops. Well, if I could keep them on the wire, we'll add 3. Oh my goodness. All right, there's our 3. Let them fall. Okay. Now, just guide it around. Make that shape that you want. Go to the back. Come up from the front. Okay. So there's that. I'm going to go right back up through the center again, same loop, just to lock all of that into place. So there are the two wraps. Okay, you can see the wires going across the top right there. So I'm going to go behind the next loop and come up from the center. Okay. Pushing that wire where I want it with my thumb. All right, same thing. Whoa. 1, 2, 3 beads. Okay, drop those down. Guide it into the shape that you want it. Come into the back, up through the middle, which you can't really see because my thumb is in the way. Sorry about that. Okay. Making sure the wire is kink free. There's one. Up from the back, there's 2. All right, so now we're at our last one. All right, going to the back, up through the center of that very last loop. Okay, once, twice for good measure. Oops. Okay, and we're ready to add those last 3 seed beads. 1, 2, 3. All right, drop them down. Guide them into the shape that you want. Coming to the back. And then pulling up. Okay. And we're going to go to the back again and up through the front. All right, so now we have our tail and we're ready to finish this off. So what I want to do is, first of all, I want to straighten my loop out because it got a little crooked on me while I was working my way around. Okay, and now I just want to take the tail into the wire, come over here to those wraps and just wrap it around once or twice. However you can get it on there. It doesn't have to be beautiful, really. I mean, look at that. That's kind of a mess, but it's nobody's going to notice that. You see, my wraps, those are not the most beautiful wraps you've ever seen, but they're tight and they're functional. And that's really the part that matters, is that everything is secure. It has nothing to do with the look of this. If I wanted to get crazy about it and make this like super perfect, I could. But in reality, when this is up against you, if you are, you know, if you've got this on as a necklace, or if you've got this hanging on your Christmas tree, your eye is drawn to the center and the color around. Nobody is ever going to look at those wraps and say, oh my, what a mess. They're not. Particularly if they know anything about jewelry making, they're going to know, you know, this is function. This is not about the design itself, right? So again, unless you're just crazy about having everything lined up in a neat little row, you can do it that way, but you're going to spend a lot of time and a lot of energy and probably do a lot of cursing to get it perfect. All right, so there is the outer edge completed. We still have a loop here and a loop here, so we have the ability to add this to a piece of chain, which we're going to do, or add a tassel or whatever you wanted to at the bottom. That's what I'm going to do. Got this beautiful floral tassel here, and it has a loop on it. I'm just going to open the loop, thread it on, close it back, and then all I need is a jump ring, and we are ready to go. Let's see. I did not give myself a jump ring though. Hold on just a second. Get a jump ring. Okay. That's right. If they do, then they are invading your space. And I always say, well, I try not to say this in mixed company, but I always say if they're that close to you, you better be having a good time. If they're that close to you, then chances are they're not paying attention to your necklace and the wire wraps. Otherwise, they are way too close for comfort. All right, so there, I just added a jump ring and a small chain to this, and you've got yourself a really unique pendant for the holidays. And if you don't want to wear it as a pendant, you could certainly just add a Christmas tree hook to this and hang it on your Christmas tree, because it would be a beautiful ornament. Let me put this up against a bust so that you can see it laying flat. Hold on just a second. Okay, let's flip you guys back around. Hello. Hello, darlings. All right, so let me put this on the bust so you can see what it looks like on. And for those of you who are like, oh, I'll never be able to do this, yes, you will. I promise you. Promise you, it is not nearly as difficult as you think it is. So this is what, don't judge my neck has pin marks on it. I don't know. So there is the pendant hanging. So I could have made like a really elaborate necklace to go with this, but I thought, you know, just on a piece of chain, on a piece of fairy silk, or on a piece of silver silk, it doesn't need anything else, right? That pendant is really all you need. And I think this would look, I've got it short here just so that you can see it, but I think that this would look really good as like a really long necklace. And if I was going to do a really long necklace to add even more length to it, I might do a really long tassel for the bottom of this too. So a lot of different options for this. You could really change this up, and you can see changing the tassel gives it a different look. Changing the size of the seed beads gives it a different look. It's the exact same pendant, but just with a different tassel and a smaller size seed bead. The base design itself is still exactly the same, but the results look very, very different. So that's it, you guys. That's it. I'm so glad you guys liked this one. I was a little scared. When I do things out of the box, I always wonder, oh, this could go over like a lead balloon. This might not be something that everybody likes, but I'm challenging you a little bit here. I know this might be out of your comfort zone, but I have 100% faith that you can create this exact same look. It just takes patience, and like I say all the time, this is like my words of wisdom to everybody under any circumstances, is to give yourself grace. That is something that I tell myself all the time in all situations. I strive every day to give myself grace, and what that means to me might be something different for you. But when it comes to jewelry making, give yourself grace. Be patient with yourself. Don't beat yourself up. You can do this. You can. I know you can. And if you need me, you just reach out to me and I will walk you through it. I'm more than happy to do that because I want to see you succeed, and I know that you can. I absolutely believe in you. So, oh, what a good day. I know. I started out that way. It's just a good day. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. Who knows? You know, but I'm just going with it. You guys have an amazing rest of the day and a great weekend. I don't know, you know, I was feeling kind of blue about the holidays, but now I'm ready. I'm ready. Let's do this thing. Let's Christmas it up. Whatever that means. All right. Don't forget the 12 Days of Beadsmith starts over on Jesse James Beads today. 30% off of red, white, and green beads. Add those to your cart. Sign up for the newsletter if you haven't already so that you don't miss a single deal, because you've got 11 more days after today of great deals coming from Jesse James Beads. And check out the 3 new bundles that are over on the website, because they're gorgeous. Really, really gorgeous. And if you need me, you know where I am. Have a wonderful weekend. I will see you guys. You get doubles of me next week. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, plus the silver silk at 6:30. So you're going to see me 5 times next week. and I won't miss it this time. I promise. All right. Have a great rest of the day. How many times have I said that? I mean it though. Go have a good day. Bye guys.